Hello and welcome to the National Debate. I'm Madhavdas and with my colleague Karishma Singh, Times Now's news editor, we'll be bringing you this very special edition of the National Debate because, viewers, it's a very significant issue. After Team India's poor performance as far as the Border Gavaskar Trophy in Australia is concerned, the BCCI is all set to implement a new set of guidelines for the men in blue, citing the aim of boosting their performance and minimizing the distractions. The cricket board has issued a 10-point guideline for players. This new policy includes curbs on personal staff, a bar on personal shoots and endorsements during tours and series. This new rule also includes significant restrictions on family visits during overseas tours. Families will now be able to visit players only for 14 days, and this is only if the foreign tour lasts over 45 days. The question we're asking today is, can a policy change fix the poor performance, or are the selectors and administrators being let off the hook? Let's quickly introduce our panel now for you. We have with us Monty Panesar, former English cricketer. With us also is Atul Vasan, former Indian cricketer. Sanjay Bhardwaj, Gautam Gambhir's childhood coach, is with us. With us also is Sunil Subramaniam, ex-manager of the Indian team and ex-coach of R. Ashwin. We have Niranjan Shah, former secretary of BCCI. Alan Sippy, former cricketer, is with us. With us also is Srivas Goswami, cricketer. Let me quickly take you through the first talking point that we're discussing and why is this under discussion in the first place. These are the instances that we're talking about, and Karishma, you've been tracking these series very closely. India's performance in the Border Gavaskar Trophy, where India was beaten 3-1, has of course been instance one, the most recent instance. The earlier instance was in November 2024, where India has lost to New Zealand 3-0 in the Test series held domestically here in India itself. The third instance we're talking about earlier was when Sri Lanka dominated India 2-0 in the ODI series held in Sri Lanka, and prior to that in July 2024, where Zimbabwe upset India by winning the T20 series opener by 13 runs in Zimbabwe. Of course, before that there was the case of England beating India as well. But let's quickly take you through what are the changes which are expected to fix the performance. What changes for players on field is what we are discussing at the moment. One is that domestic matches have now been made mandatory. The second big change that, in fact, Karishma has broken on this channel is that players cannot travel separately as well. There was some report of them not using the team bus. They also can't leave practice sessions early, as some of the seniors were reportedly doing. And fourthly, must stay till the scheduled end of the tour. No early departures allowed over here. Let's quickly take this across to our panel, in fact, with us. Let me go across to you first. Atul Vasan, are these changes necessary? Is this really the order of the day? It's a question that many are asking, and whether, players are being fixed with all the responsibility and the selectors and the administrators are being let off the hook. How do you view this, Atul?
No, why? I don't think so. It's just the case, and I don't think so that these are the reasons for our, capitulating in Australia and losing to New Zealand at home, or neither will these changes fix the problem, it's a systematic thing, and I think just the way trying to do something about it, even little, these minute things, maybe just sends a signal that the culture has to change and some kind of propriety should come back in, because, players are pushing the envelope, everybody was taking leverage. The bigger the player, he takes more kind of leg room, and then the board also just lets the things go by because, they are so huge because the cricket needs them. And they're the power houses of Indian cricket. So there is some kind of extra leniency given to the big players who have done well in the past. But where does the buck stop? Because then it becomes a culture in the team, and then it keeps on percolating down the order. And then even the newcomers who are joining the Indian team are also big stars. They've made big money because of the IPL. So everybody is on their own trip. So I think if you have to actually be successful like Australia, you have to have some kind of dictum, some kind of quorum, and I think everybody has to fall in place because it's team sport, and no matter how big you are, once you join the team, everybody is equal and one for all and all for one.
Right. Monty Panesar also with us on the panel. Monty, do you agree with that assessment that it should be one for all for one, and it's only to bring a common standard, because there is a case to be made about senior players, not now but even earlier, throwing their weight around a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think these procedures that the new guidelines that they've put in place, I think most international teams follow it anyway. They all kind of travel together on the same bus and they go back together as well. They all stay in same hotels. I think if an international player is not in good form, he goes and plays domestic cricket. But I think what's happened, since when England beat India back in 2012, after that, India had a massive, great run over 4,000 days of winning home series. And it's just because they lost against New Zealand, the 3-0, and obviously not doing so well against Australia, that things have to take place. So you got to understand that India did have a really good run for about 10 years, and now it's just about right. Gautam Gambhir, and I think the BCCI probably just want some accountability, some control, some discipline back. Take away things that that are distractions. Like whatever the players have. The hairdresser, stylist, cook, whatever it is. If they want to stay in separate hotels, they don't want to travel in their own cars to the practice. All of these kind of things are a distraction. Take all that away. Let's get the team to focus on cricket. The guys who are, India haven't been doing so well recently. Virat Kohli, go and play Ranji Trophy. If he does it, I tell you what, everyone else will be doing it because he's the biggest superstar in Indian cricket. And, it'll be a shame to see Virat Kohli just fade away. We want him to stay here as long as possible. He is the Cristiano Ronaldo of cricket. We need him to do really well, India to do really well. We need that culture back of India winning again. But the best way probably to do it is to bring some discipline, bring some focus back towards winning, and cricket focus. None of this sort of outside distraction, which, I think is not helping Indian cricket at the moment.
Right. And in fact, you mentioned both Gautam Gambhir and Virat Kohli. And interestingly, Karishma, you've just reported a short while earlier that Virat has actually, bowed out of Ranji on health grounds. You want to take that question across to one of our panelists?
Well, yes, actually, I wanted to bring in Srivat's on that because he's been very vocal about all issues Indian cricket. Srivat's domestic cricket, how important is it that the correct importance is given to domestic cricket? Whether you're Rohit Sharma, whether you're Virat Kohli or you're a junior cricketer, you need to get out there and play Ranji Trophy if you want to be in the national team. That is the top point in the policy document. Now, we are not sure if Virat Kohli is going to be available for the Ranji Trophy match for Delhi or not. But how do you see this? Domestic cricket. We've seen what Karan Nair has been able to achieve in domestic cricket. Everyone's talking about him at this moment. Everyone's, looking forward to have him back in the national team. So, Ranji Trophy, domestic cricket, as per you.
Well, I was actually going to raise this point. If Karun Nair is picked for Champions Trophy, then we will understand how valued and how important the domestic cricket is. I'll give a short example. I was about 2021 when the great Chapel era happened and Saurav Ganguly was out of the team. I was playing for Bengal. I played for Bengal for the past 20 years. So he came back and used to train with us every day and wanted to make a comeback to the Indian team because back then there was no IPL, right? So the only way you could make a comeback was through playing domestic cricket. And fortunately enough, the matches were held in Eden Gardens. I think he was also a little bit skeptical that if the match was not in Eden Garden, if it's somewhere, let's say in Tripura or Haryana, Rohtak, will the Ranji team be able to provide security for the great man? So I'm sure even Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma would be having the same thought process. If it's in the proper stadium, then yes, they will go. If it's let's say if it's in Jammu and Kashmir, let's say if it's in Tripura, then will you be able to provide that kind of security to Virat Kohli? Because I'm sure the fans will jump up, try and mob them. That won't be good as well. And a couple of more medias taking photographs. If Virat pushes someone, that will become a huge issue. So all these things come into play. Yes, Ranji Trophy is extremely important, but I will only give a tick mark if Karun Nair is picked for Champions Trophy.
All right. Very, very important questions. Zinanjan Shah, are these fair concerns? Because, we're already seeing, Virat say there are health grounds not being able to participate currently. But are these fair concerns that domestic cricket has to be, mandatory for the international players? Because there's also a point to be made that just as many say that some of the seniors are taking up a side in the Indian cricket team, then there could also be arguments that they're perhaps taking up a place in the Ranji side as well. Niranjan Shah, how do you see this?
We had previously also same rule implemented, and I think domestic cricket should be given most important. And one thing I have to also tell BCCI, this time 4 teams were out during Ranji Trophy side. 4 teams were out, so 60-70 players, best players of India were not in Ranji Trophy. So that also the schedule has to be look at it that they give enough importance to Ranji Trophy. So this is also important. And I hope every player should come and play Ranji Trophy. Then it is good for the other youngster also.
All right, all right. Alan Sippy, you agree with that? Because, this Ranji is something that has been spoken about. The experience, the rich experience, particularly that the seniors have, somewhere or the other rubs off when you play, shoulder to shoulder with other juniors who can perhaps gain from that. Is that a fair point to be made here?
It's a brilliant point, actually, Madhav, because you see, when you play mixed with Ranji Trophy players, the senior players, they make a big impact to the youngsters, because the youngsters want to emulate them. And it's important that these guys, all of them play Ranji Trophy, because Ranji Trophy is actually the benchmark. That's how you're judged. Yes, today we can look at the workload, because in the past, when you're in the times that we used to play, when Atul Vasan and myself used to play, the matches were, very thick and fast and few. But now there's so much cricket. There's IPL, there's this, there's that, there's international crickets. So it's difficult for these superstars to play every single Ranji match. So they have to actually, the board has to specify to them that you need to play a certain minimum amount. Because when you play a minimum amount, you're actually not qualifying, but at least you're doing the hard yards to gain the distance. It's absolutely paramount that all the cricketers, whether it's Virat Kohli or Rohit Sharma, they have to play, because it's important, and it builds camaraderie with the youngsters, because the youngsters like Jaiswal, all these guys, now Jaiswal has become a star already, but there are so many young Jaiswals in the midst. If they start mixing with the Rohit Sharmas and the Virat Kohlis and the Bumrahs, they themselves will become the new superstar in future. So I think it's absolutely paramount, it's absolutely imperative that these boys play Ranji Trophy.
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, Karishma, there's also a very crucial issue of players leaving their practice sessions early and also leaving several tours early. And these guidelines are aiming to actually curb that. I think that's a question that perhaps either Sunil Subramaniam or Sanjay Bharadwaj can also answer. Sunil Subramaniam, would like to take that question? How important is this restriction as far as, curbing the time in terms of continuing the entire practice session or continuing with the entire foreign tour?
Yeah, see, I've been reading a lot that's come in the media, and see, I was there for 2.5 years with this Indian team on 8 overseas tours, and I don't recollect anything of this that's coming out right now. That players skipping practice sessions, going in their own transport, this business of team dinners, and we used to have a great time with Ravi as the coach there. The man management was simply brilliant. I don't remember anybody having to skip sessions. I don't remember anybody having to leave early, and at most times we flew in together, we came back together. Well, this was pre-COVID days, but the discipline was certainly there. So I'm a bit surprised to read all this, and how much of it is true, I won't know. And I've seen it from very close quarters, and that's point number one. Then the second part is this domestic cricket. I mean, that's long overdue. If you see the way we played against New Zealand, and I used to watch all the spinners. I've been a spinner myself and played for 13 long years. My thing was to note all the spinners in international cricket. Believe me, the quality of spin in international cricket was pretty low. And what we produce in domestic cricket, it would certainly have helped our players if we had played a few Ranji Trophy games to combat spin. Now, you losing the series to New Zealand was a shocker, because you simply haven't played good spin. I'm not too sure of how much Ranji Trophy will prepare you to play on Australia, South Africa or England, but certainly to play in Indian conditions, a couple of matches, 3 to 4 games per year, have to be played by the guys playing for India in domestic cricket, and that is long overdue.
All right, that's a question that's long overdue.
I do want to come in here.
Yeah.
Sir is talking about, how the team used to gel well together earlier. But if we talk about the Border Gavaskar Trophy in itself, in the entire 1.5 months, there was only one team dinner that happened. So that also tells us a story of where team bonding is at this moment. So I think that is where the improvement needs to be done. And if we look at all the 10 points that have been implemented in the policy document, somewhere the focus is on getting the team bonding together. Don't you feel, sir? Sunil, sir.
See, it starts at the top. Yeah, it starts at the top. Now, how good is the coach in getting the team together? Now, that's a huge man management task, and I'm not too sure if many people in India are gifted with managing people. And you're talking about stars, future stars, current superstars. how do you get them all together? Do you have the personality to do with it? It's all right to be, your own man and my way or the highway, but sorry, it doesn't work that way. You need to be a man manager. Do the guys want to be around you? It's very important. The buck doesn't stop just with the players.
Absolutely.
What is the atmosphere? How are your other coaches? Have your other coaches dealt with these guys? When I was there, Arun, Sridhar, Sanjay Bangar, Vikram Rathod, later, these guys have been with them in NCA and I've seen these guys grow up. So there was a camaraderie, not just the professional excellence, but off the field, there was a certain camaraderie. Now, it has to be a two-way street.
Let me take that question across to Sanjay Bharadwaj before we go across to our next set of graphics. Sanjay Bharadwaj, somewhere or the other, that camaraderie is something that is very important. And jo Karishma keh rahi hai, what she's describing to us, it's very, very clear that there's something missing as far as the team is concerned, whether it is the plants coming in from each side, PR agencies being used. In fact, Mr. Harsha Bhogle has tweeted. There are others who are talking about dressing room leaks taking place and, objections to that. Somewhere or the other, this does not show that there is great camaraderie within the current team, and which is why these guidelines have come. संजय भारद्वाज।
मेन बात देखो, जब मान लो हमारी अनवेल होते हैं तो सारा हमारा इलाज चालू होता है। अब कहीं ना कहीं हमने पहले 3 मैच की सीरीज न्यूजीलैंड से हारे हम, फिर हम ऑस्ट्रेलिया में हारे हैं। तो अगर हम जीतते रहते, पिछले जो सीरीज थी हम जीते थे ऑस्ट्रेलिया में, तो मेन बात है कि जो भी ये रूल बन रहे हैं ये क्रिकेट को बढ़ाने के लिए रूल बन रहे हैं। अगर आपका डिसिप्लिन होगा, जैसे मोंटी पेनेसर ने कहा कि भाई डिस्ट्रैक्शन आती है और वो ये क्रिकेट सबसे बड़ी है, हम क्रिकेट से बड़े नहीं है। क्रिकेट आज जो भी कुछ है, हम भी जो है इतने बड़े बड़े, जो इतना बड़ा स्ट्रक्चर बना है, ये अगर आप देखोगे 83 वर्ल्ड कप है, उसमें कोच ही नहीं थे, उसमें तो मैनेजर था, तो सबने रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ली थी। तो आपको ये देखना पड़ेगा कि आपकी जो प्लेयर्स हैं, जो बड़े प्लेयर्स हैं, उनको अपनी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी लेनी पड़ेगी। अगर आपने रणजी ट्रॉफी में लगता है कि आपको रणजी ट्रॉफी में आना चाहिए और आपको कॉन्फिडेंस अपग्रेड होगा, तो आपको रणजी ट्रॉफी खेलनी चाहिए, चाहे वो कहीं भी होती हो। तो आप लाहली में खेले हैं अपना सचिन तेंदुलकर। तो मेन चीज है, अगर हम अब कोई भी बड़ी चैलेंजर ट्रॉफी को जीतना है तो हम पीछे 2 स्टेप पीछे गए हैं ट्रॉफी हार के ऑस्ट्रेलिया में। तो हमें अपनी जो चीजें हैं उनको कमी को पूरा करना चाहिए और दोबारा से हमें, क्योंकि इस क्रिकेट को जो देखने वाले हैं उनके दिल टूटते हैं, तो हमें पूरी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी लेनी चाहिए। हमारा कोई स्टेटस नहीं है, हमारा स्टेटस अपनी कंट्री को जितवाना और अपनी क्रिकेट को बढ़ाना है।
बिल्कुल। एंड व्हाट आर द चेंजेस रियली दैट आर देयर ऑफ फील्ड एज वेल? लेट्स टेक अ क्विक लुक एट व्हाट दिस रियली मींस फॉर देम। देयर आर लिमिटेशंस ऑन पर्सनल स्टाफ, दैट्स वन थिंग दैट you've reported, Karishma, as well as no personal shoots during the tour that will be allowed. Also, number 3 is there's mandatory participation in BCCI events as well. Of course, another important point, of course, being as far as restriction on various events as far as the family travel is concerned. But let me quickly bring in some of the other panelists. Alan Sippy, how important is this? Are these shoots sometimes, or the personal staff, is this something that really causes a lot of distraction? Does this actually take away from the main focus, which should be cricket?
Madhav, this is very important, I think, because you see, what BCCI has actually done right now is they're trying to instill some kind of discipline. Discipline is important because in any walk of life, whether it's a job, whether it's a company that you work for, if something goes wrong, there's always a postmortem and something has to be done. I think BCCI has hit it spot on. They're implementing rules, which is crucial. There should never be any shoots anymore because the performance has not been up to mark. So there has to be accountability. Like Monty Panesar earlier said, you have to have some accountability in any walk of life, in any job. So this is a brilliant move for BCCI. They have to curtail the shoots in between the tour. They must ensure that all the players, this is absolutely paramount. It's unheard of. All the players should travel together. Going in a separate car is nonsense. You should travel together because it's a team game. This is not an individual sport. This is a team sport. You're not playing a tennis match. So this is absolutely paramount. These are rules that the BCCI has put forward, and it's excellent rules. I think it's commendable that what BCCI has done. They're trying to instill some discipline into the Indian team.
Let me get in Karishma on that, because Karishma, you've covered now cricket for a decade and a half, and I've covered cricket before that. I've seen several captains take a separate, luxury car and not travel in the team bus. So it's not fair to only say it's happening in the era of Rohit Sharma or Virat Kohli.
It's happened before, and what BCCI, like I said earlier, is trying to build on team bonding. That is what they want to do. But Madhav, another interesting point that I wanted to come on, personal staff. Possibly one point of contention that it could become is the chef, because a lot of people are feeling that chef is more than a luxury, a requirement, because maybe cricketers don't want to eat hotel food for 40 days, 45 days. There are specific nutrition requirements. So that is possibly where the cricketers and the BCCI could not be on the same page. And maybe Srivatsa, because he's been in those shoes, can answer that. Srivatsa, what do you think? A chef being there with a cricketer, is it a necessity or is it a luxury?
But I don't quite agree to all of them, right? Now, tomorrow, if you say you won't be allowed to go out late at night, you have to be at the hotel before 9 o'clock. I mean, this is not under 19 cricket, right? And everybody's professional enough. If all these things are not happening, can the coach not rectify this during team meeting? Can the coach not tell an ex-player that we want you to be more available towards the team? We want you to gel more with the youngster? Or anything. Why does it have to be like a school that these are the certain rules and you have to follow certain rules? Everybody's a professional. I mean, if there's a three days gap, I mean, I don't want to see your face because it's a 45-day store. Sometimes you just want to do whatever you want to do, right? Whether you're shooting, whether you're going out, as long as you are not missing team bonding sessions or team sessions, it's absolutely fine. But what's next now? Now, next will be don't go for dinner, don't go out with your partner, come back to the hotel at 9. And a lot of things can be easily talked about in the dressing room by the coach. So I don't know why is it blown up like this. And talking about the chef, it's very individual, really. You know, I know a couple of players who do carry chef. That's absolutely fine. 45 days, you don't want to eat hotel food. There are a lot of oily food around everywhere. The chefs are there that maintains your fitness as well. You can see the guy on the screen. Virat Kohli has carried chef before. KL Rahul carries it right now. I'm not sure about Rohit Sharma or not. So carrying chef is absolutely fine.
Atul Vasan, you want to come in on that? Carrying a chef is a necessity today, not a luxury, say some. And there are, of course, a very high nutrition standard that today's athletes really have.
See, you know, you have to look at it in a holistic point of view. It is symbolic. It's a tokenism. I think you can't cut your nose to spite your face. So I think certain points which are right, they're just to show that, you know, you have to fall back in line, because once you start winning, then, you know, people start to push the envelope, as I said. You know, bigger players will take leverage. And you're talking about Ranji Trophy, you just find out how many times people have skipped matches for personal reasons. And, you know, it never used to happen before. I mean, kids were born to all the cricketers. I mean, you tell me how many times earlier cricketers used to miss for personal reasons. You know, if there is a death or something, that is, understandable. But then people just skipping the tour. I mean, you can see how many tours Virat Kohli has missed, and he just picks and chooses. He'll not go to West Indies. He'll not go to Zimbabwe. So India is happy because we've got so many players, and we have to please everybody. So we pick another team, and you just keep on dishing out the cap. So where does the buck stop? So, you know, these are the things which will not fix it, right? And certain things are justifiable, that you can't put a curfew. Players also know that if the performance is going down, what is required of them. You know, they can't just be partying and all. And if you're performing well, then, you know, people don't talk about these things. Right. So tomorrow you'll win Champions Trophy, and then I'll see how many people will talk about the indiscipline in the team. Nobody will talk about it because you
nothing succeeds like success, as they always say, Atul.
And certain players are taking extra advantage, and you have to fall back in line.
Absolutely. In fact, let me take that question across to Sanjay Bharadwaj. Sanjay Bharadwaj, एक important point अभी जो श्रीवत्स ने कहा था, उसका मैं जवाब चाहूंगा. वो कह रहे हैं कि हम अंडर 19 की टीम नहीं है, ये सीनियर्स की टीम है. कोई अब कल कहेंगे कि डिनर के लिए मत जाइए, कोई कहेगा कि अपने वाइफ के साथ किसी से मिलने के लिए मत जाइए. कहां तक ये रिस्ट्रिक्शंस एक्सेप्टेबल है? क्योंकि ये सब काम कोच भी कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं अगर उनकी बॉन्डिंग और उनकी अगर इक्वेशन सही हो टीम मेंबर्स के साथ. क्या कहेंगे आप श्रीवत्स को?
मैं यही कहूंगा कि आप ये देखियो, ऑस्ट्रेलियन टीम जब वर्ल्ड कप खेलने जाती है तो 3 महीने तक वो बियर तक नहीं पीती, अपनी फैमिली के साथ नहीं रहती, एक मोटिव लेके जाते कि हमें वर्ल्ड कप जीतना है. तो आप किसी उस टूर पे नहीं गए हो, आप कंट्री को जिताने के लिए जा रहे हो. आपको कितने लोग देखते हैं, करोड़ों लोग देखते हैं, आपको लाखों लोग देखते हैं. जब टीम हारती है तो उन लोगों को कितना, उनकी फीलिंग्स कितनी हर्ट होती है, ये देखना चाहिए. तो आपको डिसिप्लिन बनाना ही पड़ेगा. ऐसा नहीं होता कि चाहे कोई अंडर 19 हो चाहे 16 हो, जितना बड़ी टीम होगी उतना ही डिसिप्लिन चाहिए आपको। अगर आपका बहुत बड़ा मोटिव है तो बहुत बड़ा यानी आपको डिसिप्लिन चाहिए। हाँ जी।
Yeah, let me take that question also, Monty. Monty, the very first word of this policy document that in fact Karishma broke here on Times Now is that the objective is to establish guidelines that promote discipline, unity and a positive team environment while ensuring professional standards and operational efficiency during tours and series. Where does this discipline come in as an important factor? Because Mr. Sanjay Bharadwaj says that look at the example of Australia, the kind of restrictions they have for months on end before they go on important tours. Do you agree with him on that?
Well, I think it's all about winning, really, isn't it? It's like India, if they're winning, we wouldn't be talking about any of these situations about, team training together, about, personal staff coming on tour. It's all about India winning. Once they start winning, then suddenly, these guidelines may get another review. They may, because some of these once you're an Indian cricketer playing at international level, it's a different ballgame altogether. BCCI is actually the third most richest sports organization after FIFA in IOC. So, when we look at this, it's like a massive organization, Indian cricket is a different scale to any other international team. And, even when I'm in India, I feel like I'm Salman Khan with all this security everywhere, but I'm only there for a few weeks. These cricketers are living day in, day out in India. So you also got to, be, it's a perspective of a life of an Indian cricketer, the difficulties that they have, the security that they need and the focus that they need to be on cricket. But suddenly Indian cricket do really well. You need to do the personal shoots. You need the sponsorships. They need to maximize their earnings as soon as possible. So this is where then they need to review these guidelines and think, where can there be a bit of a leeway for an Indian cricketer? Because an Indian cricketer is completely different to any other international cricketer, Their fan base, their popularity on social media, what they bring, to the world cricket is on a different scale. So you've got to this has got to be tailored for Indian cricket and, the popularity of the game in India is different to the rest of the world. So, yeah, it's great. In Australia, it works. But we've got to do what's best for Indian cricket. And having that approach of being too disciplined, too headmaster kind of style of thing, I don't think it's going to work with Indian cricket. It'll work for, a few months once they start winning again. But you can't be an oak tree. You've got to be a bit more of like a bamboo stick. Be flexible. You've got to allow these Indian cricketers to express their talent and also bring that brand, that attacking brand that we know what Indian cricket is all about and the world loves to see. We need to get back to that way. But
absolutely. In fact, we all remember the Greg Chappell episode and the balance is most important, Monty. Sorry to cut you there. But the most controversial point, and this is why we've been debating this, is the entry of the family. Because now, as per the new guidelines, Karishma, the family is permitted one visit per tour. And the fact is that they can stay for a maximum of 2 weeks, and that too only on those tours where the duration is above 45 days and the approval of the coach and captain has to be given for this. Now, these, of course, are some of the restrictions as far as tours that last over 45 days are concerned. There's a separate set of rules for those tours which are less than 45 days, where 1 week is the time period that will be allowed. Karishma, and this is, of course, going to be very controversial.
But Madhav, let's also, put it out there that this was something that used to happen earlier. Rules were changed when COVID happened so that, the bio bubble and the mental health of players were not affected. That is when teams and families were allowed for the entirety of the tour. So this was something that used to happen before COVID, and now BCCI is trying to go back to that stage where all these things are going to be brought back, like I said, because the focus is that the teams should be together, the players should be together. And maybe Alan Sippy can take this question, that how important is it that you have your family with you, but you also focus on cricket for the majority of the tour?
Karishma, this is a very important point, because I remember with Ravi Shastri taking over as the manager of the Indian team. And at that time, if I'm not mistaken, that the wives were not allowed. And Virat Kohli had asked Ravi, since Ravi had just taken over, if he could actually bring his wife along. And Ravi said, straight away, he said, by all means, go ahead. And he took the permission of BCCI and he told Virat he can bring his wife over. I think it all boils down, Karishma, to man management. Ravi Shastri, I'm not just praising him because he's a friend of mine, but Ravi Shastri was brilliant at man management. He knew how to look after the senior players and also the junior players. Sometimes he had to use the roses, or can you say the flowers, to look after them. Sometimes he had to use the stick, and he did that very well. And that's why he was very successful as a coach. People found Ravi Shastri very arrogant and whatever, but he had a different mentality when he was with the players. The persona that he had for the outside world, for you and me to watch, it was a very aggressive man like Ravi Shastri, this aggressive guy. But when he was with the team, I used to notice that sometimes when I had an opportunity to be around some of the cricketers, that he was really outstanding. He was one of them. He was like a gang member. So the team, you know, they could relate to him. They knew that they've got this guy, this manager, this coach completely with them. It's important that Gautam Gambhir gets soon. I mean, if he wants to get back on, you know, and being a very good coach, the man management part is crucial in any walk of life. If he can handle the man management, because these guys are superstars, they're much bigger than Gautam Gambhir. Some of them are good, I mean, huge. So, and handling the man management, handling this, the cricketers is very crucial going forward, because this is crucial in any aspect of life.
Let me bring in Niranjan Shah on that, because Niranjan Shah, when it comes to, you know, the family being present or not, this is entirely contentious. There are some who believe that in this day and age, should there be such a restriction? Because, you know, there could be any number of situations. There could be young children, for instance. I know traveling overseas for such a long period of time, it can be pretty stressful, especially if these players, many of them are young fathers, for instance. Do you think that perhaps somewhere or the other, this 2 weeks, is it a guideline that is fair, or is it a little excessive, you feel?
I think such guideline was there previously also. So I don't think there is anything new. And one thing you have to understand, you are professional cricketer. You are going there for not only for the game, but also for earning. And this type of, when you lose, you will fall in such guidelines and you have to accept it. And I think this guideline was there previously, so there is nothing new on there. But family destruction should not be there during the game. And now we expect our team is the world best team. So everybody accept that you should win. And that is most important.
Right. Monty, you agree with that? Family distraction shouldn't be there. Is that a fair ask?
Well, I think at the moment, absolutely, because India are not winning. So, you know, they need to get the players to think, right, let's focus on cricket. Let's, you know, let's get like Gautam Gambhir, I think he likes a bit of control. I think he's a good coach when he's leading from the front. And now he's got a good framework where he can make every player accountable. And then hopefully, you know, the BCCI and the coaches and the selectors know, you know, where India are not doing so well. But hopefully India can get back playing well again. You know, they've got the tour of in India, they're playing the ODI and the T20 series. So you expect India to win that Champions Trophy. I think a realistic task should be, you know, at least to the semi-finals. So if they're able to, you know, get back on winning ways, then I think then afterwards, you know, they can probably sit down and think, right, what is best for these superstar cricketers? What the structure do they want? And I think, like you guys said, you know, these players are much bigger than Gautam Gambhir, and I think the framework that he uses at KKR worked there. But BCCI, he may have to, you know, change it up a little bit, and may have to work out what's best for Indian cricket. You know, does he have to bring in a technical coach, especially with the tour of England, with 5 test matches there? You know, is it an English coach that he brings in, possibly like Ian Bell, or is it VVS Laxman, someone like that, where he doesn't, he shouldn't feel threatened. You shouldn't feel threatened by someone who's, you know, maybe a better technical coach. Because I think Gautam Gambhir, it's important for Indian cricket. A young Indian coach does well for the national Indian team, because you don't want the narrative, or, you know, oh, yet again, we have to go for a foreign coach. So it's really important that Gautam Gambhir is a success story for Indian cricket.
Madhav, Niranjan sir spoke about earning, that these are professional cricketers. On a lighter note, I just want to say that there was pay cut also suggested in that review meet. So I think cricketers are going to be very happy that it's not in the policy document that has been made performance variable pay for these cricketers at this moment.
So, how do you view this whole thing? And of course, you've been very closely associated with R. Ashwin, who actually, you know, made a completely surprise announcement during the entire Australia series, something that came like a bolt of the blue for many. And that was also a sign of, you know, how things are, you know, the equations are working out within the team and how they're being managed as well.
Couple of things before I come to Ashwin. I've been hearing a lot on this panel about professionalism. Believe me, every one of these guys who's playing for India is a professional and understands his profession. I don't know where these stories are coming out about them skipping practice, so on and so forth. No, they are not. They are pretty much motivated. Now, the fault doesn't lie there. You know, when the time that we toured, and we had 8 tours, and during Ravi's time, from 17 to 19, when I was with the team, we had some terrible tours, but I don't remember anybody having to skip anything. In fact, they were more than volunteering to come to practice. Now, the problem lies in a completely different space. At that point, we had Virat Kohli in the best of his form, and Pujara doing well in Australia, and we had 4 gun fast bowlers at their peak. Now, if you look at the drop in Virat's form, it has been mind-boggling. Something like 21 runs in overseas conditions he's dropped per innings, and 17 runs per innings in home conditions. Now, these are big numbers. I think to fill that gap, they've been struggling. That is one. Second, we'll take time to get a bowling combination. So these guys will take some time. So we're looking at a lot of other reasons than the core. Playing domestic would help. The selector's job in finding out young talent, that is going to be crucial. Now, that is where we need solutions. Now, other things like what they said about families, so these guidelines were there when I was there. And I don't see very many being violated. Now, coming to Ashwin, I mean, it took me by surprise too, that there's something that the whole tour has been a lot of mishaps. Somebody has rationalized him to take a decision to quit the tour midway. I mean, it was a surprise to me. I would have thought that he would have stayed with the team till the end of the tour and then taken whatever decision has to be taken. But that, along with a few decisions, the team combinations, playing 2 spinners on a green track, sending Mohammad Siraj as a night watchman, even in the home tour here, home series against New Zealand, we batted first on our wicket in Bangalore, which is totally green. I mean, there seemed to be something that was amiss. It doesn't seem like there's something right there. Is it because of the fact that poor performances got the better of them, or they were genuine tactical mistakes? Only time will say. But yes, as far as leaving the tour is concerned, I would have thought that he would have stayed back and then taken a decision thereafter.
Right, absolutely. In fact, let me take that question across to Sanjay Bhardwaj. Sanjay Bhardwaj, what explains this? क्या poor performance की वजह से कई चीजें जिसको गलतियां कहें, चाहे सवाल कहें, चाहे जिस तरह की डिसीजंस लिए गए, उन पे कहीं ना कहीं क्वेश्चनेबल चीजें की गई हैं, और यही सवाल उठता है कि क्या टीम के अंदर की बातें हैं कि सिर्फ ये पुअर परफॉर्मेंस की वजह से ये चीजें उभर के बाहर आ रही हैं? आप कैसे देखते हैं, संजय भारद्वाज?
मैं यही कहूंगा कि क्योंकि अब हमारी टीम बन रही है, अभी हमारे पास 2 सीनियर बैट्समैन हैं, विराट कोहली और रोहित शर्मा, हमारे जूनियर प्लेयर्स आ रहे हैं. जब इस तरह का टीम का जब कॉम्बिनेशन होता है तो थोड़ा सा आने वाले बच्चों में भी थोड़ा सा डिफिकल्टी होती है. पर आप ये देखिए कि जैसे गौतम गंभीर का अभी मोंटी पेनेसर ने कहा था कि वो बहुत अलग तरह के डिसिप्लिन है और वो सबको हैंडल करता है. ये नहीं है कि वो वेस्ट इंडियंस प्लेयर को भी उनकी कल्चर से हैंडल करता है, इंडियन प्लेयरों को अपने कल्चर से हैंडल करता है, तो उसको आता है टीम को कैसे जितवाना है. तो मेन यही है कि थोड़ा सा ये ट्रांजिट टाइम है, तो इस टाइम पे हमें आपस में ये देखना है और जो डिसिप्लिन है और जिस तरह से है, तो अभी थोड़ा सा हमें टाइम देना चाहिए टीम को. और जिस तरह से हम कर रहे हैं, जिस तरह से हमारी प्रैक्टिस हो रही है, ये ऐसे होगी. और मैं आपको गारंटी देता हूं, जिस तरह से हमारी टीम खेल रही है और जिस तरह से वो थोड़ा सा इनोवेटिव मूड में है, गौतम भी और पूरी टीम भी, पूरी मैनेजमेंट, तो आप ये देख लेना आने वाला टाइम हमारा बहुत अच्छा आएगा और ये सच्चाई है.
Atul Vasan, do you agree with that? Do you think that this is just a transition time? It's just a period where experimentation is going on and things will fall in place soon enough?
Yes, I think so. Because, again, let me just, bring some perspective to it. Because we are talking across formats, We've lost in Test cricket. We are going to play one-day cricket. We are the T20 world champions. So I think just this knee-jerk reaction, this has been endemic. This has been systematic for a long period of time what's happening. And I think just putting a Band-Aid on a cancer will not cure you. So you have to just see what are the right things to do. The ethos and the moral culture, the compass has to be fixed right. And the players, even big or small, should feel themselves that they are, of course, they have done a lot for the country, but they can't actually, overpower the team's discipline and the culture just to take that extra leverage. And then once you allow that, where do you stop it? Because then the player says, okay, he has done it. Anybody who does well will try and take his extra pound of flesh.
So what are these challenges? Karishma, you want to very quickly take us through what are the next upcoming challenges for Team India? If you can quickly bring that up on the screen.
Well, yes, absolutely. We are going to be playing against England at home. This is going to be 5 T20Is and 3 ODIs. That is why so much talk about domestic cricket. Then, very importantly, Champions Trophy, 20th Feb onwards, the big match, India versus Pakistan on the 23rd of February. June 20 to August 4, England at home, 5 tests. That is also going to be very, very important. And Champions Trophy is actually going to decide what happens in the future in Indian cricket, depending upon what the results are going to be. And Champions Trophy is really going to be the benchmark when we talk about tough decisions, whether it's cricketers, whether it's the head coach. And maybe, Srivatsa can take this question. Srivatsa, what do you think? The result of Champions Trophy is really going to decide a lot of things as far as Indian cricket, the fate of senior cricketers or even head coach, fielding coaches or assistant coaches are concerned. We are already learning that Sitanshu Kotak has been added to the coaching staff as well, alongside Abhishek Nair.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Champions Trophy is very, very crucial for India, especially it's in Dubai. It's not going to be easy. Conditions, the big grounds, slow wickets, a little bit of turn. We don't even have Ravichandra Ashwin right now. Akshar Patel has been given T20 vice captaincy, so a bit of extra responsibility to him. Look, the whole topic, let's not go away from India's performance, right? India is an incredible team, right? I'm sure it is, of course, a transitioning phase. This is not the first time India has lost a series in Australia, and this will not be the last time India will lose series anywhere else, right? So this will happen. But the England series, in terms of red ball cricket, is absolutely important for the two legends of the game, Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli. If they don't do well there, I think the selectors and the management will look for somebody else as a replacement. And also, as also the same case for Gautam Gambhir as well. Let's not think that England series at home will be easy as well. England is a very, very strong side in white ball cricket. Dubai will be a very, very big challenge for India, and it will obviously, the future of Gautam Gambhir will be decided there.
Absolutely. And in fact, one of the things, Monty, that many have not been able to figure out is that how's a team that's been the world champion in T20, and Karishma was there. In fact, she's flown back with the team in that special flight as well. Many are not able to understand how's a team that did so well at the World Cup. How is it possible that in so many series, it's been underperforming? And that's perhaps the only way to put it, because fans have been disappointed. Is it, somewhere what Atul Vasan is saying, that there has been a series of format changes, and perhaps does that also weigh down on players and their performances?
Well, I think it's, I think India have had a lot of success, and there comes a time where, you are going to lose a test series at home, and it obviously happened when they just changed the coach. And, the other issue obviously is, how seriously do they take Gautam Gambhir as a cricket coach? His, as a test cricketer in Australia, his average isn't great. In India, in England, it's even kind of like, less than that as well. So as a Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, you're going to sit there in a team meeting and you're going to think, well, what is he going to tell me about batting? He hasn't done it himself in these conditions. How seriously do they take him? That's another issue. And also, the technical issue that Virat Kohli has outside off stump. Do they have the competency? Do they have the knowledge to sort that out? Or do they need to bring some expert knowledge? These are the issues where Gautam Gambhir is going to be actually assessed. Can he get the team winning again? And also, when a player has a technical problem on tour, does he have the ability to sort that out? Or, is he going to talk about other issues, which is about, the team are not, gelling together. They're in separate hotels. They got, other personal, members coming with them as a distraction. Well, the real issue is, can Gautam Gambhir sort out what's happening with Virat Kohli outside off stump? That's a bigger issue than having your hairdresser or your stylist on tour, or if your, baggage allowance is over 150 kgs. These are not as important. The technical performance issues is, you know, where I think Gautam Gambhir is going to be assessed as a coach.
Okay, Srivats doesn't seem to be agreeing with you there. Srivats, you want to respond to Monty?
Yeah, I respectfully disagree with the stats of the coach because Sukrit Conrad is a South African coach having played just 9 first class and they are the world WTC champion. John Buchanan hasn't had much experience playing international cricket but has made Australia champions for a very, very long time. So stats, just in terms of stats, I don't agree. But yes, you're absolutely right. All the rules which have come up are non-cricketing rules. We need to focus more on cricket instead of what behind the scenes.
Absolutely. In fact, more focus on cricket, Karishma. That's at the end of the day going to be the bottom line. Whatever be the arrangements on field, off field, it's about how they play the sport. And, you know, the big question right now, the big challenge will be that, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think the whole idea is to get the team together because we have a lot of cricket like we just described. 2025 is full of cricket, and I think the BCCI is also just wanting that the best performance comes from these cricketers. And like we were discussing, this is also going to be a deciding year, Madhav, for our senior cricketers. How they perform is going to be directly linked to how long they're going to be playing these formats, because they've already retired from a T20. Of course, we're talking about Rohit, Virat, and their performance will really matter because it will decide how long are they going to play the remaining formats.
Absolutely. And Atul Vasan, the good news is that Rohit Sharma has been seen, you know, out for a jog at the BKC in Mumbai and also perhaps playing, you know, domestic cricket over there as well is what we expect. So it's not all bad news. Perhaps there is still a lot of room for recovery because these are at the end of the day seniors and some of our top performers over the years.
Well, you know, I mean, he's been going for a jog for his whole of his life, I think, and just going for a jog doesn't ensure that you will get runs, you know, because I never saw Sunil Gavaskar or Vengsarkar go for a jog. They used to just not have a cup of tea and they used to back for 2 days. The problem is that we are discussing our debacle in Test cricket, and Test cricket, the way all the glamorous cult of players are approaching is the problem, because, you know, nobody wants to bat dirty and ugly. Nobody wants to bat a session because their egos and their nature has changed. They are pleasers. They feel that, you know, how can somebody keep me subdued for so long? So I'll play the shots because I am able to do that in T20, get away with it. But that's the problem because, you know, you see 5, 7, 10 wickets fall in a session. So, and where is the patience in the cricketing fraternity to breed Test cricketers? Unless you have specialized Test cricketers and find players who have got the knack, and those players, if you leave them alone, they will also try to go for the low-hanging fruits because they have to make money also. So how do you keep them restrained because you got the talent and you compensate those players who are made for Test cricket? So right now we are discussing this, but the next cricket is 50 overs, and I'm pretty sure that Rohit and Virat are going to win us the Champions Trophy.
All right, that's very important. 50 overs cricket. Ultimately, Alan Sippy, that's where the proof of the pudding will be. It will be in the eating, and Rohit and Virat will succeed in the 50 overs format where they perhaps are strongest. You agree with Atul on that?
Totally agree, because these are two champion cricketers. These are cricketers that have performed really well over the years. Yes, the age is against them right now. Yes, they are waning in whatever is happening to them. But they are champion cricketers. They are superstars of Indian cricket. And trust me, now they will be hurting big time because they'll be hearing all this talk that you and me and all of us are talking about. They'll be hurting big time. They will want to prove. The fact that he's gone for a jog, whatever, it's not that his jogging that's going to help him. It's his mental state. Now he's definitely focused, thinking that I have to play well. I have to end on a good note. I have to end on my note. He doesn't want somebody to drop him. And I think that's why both Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma will be a massive, massive influence in the future.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. I'd like to thank all our panelists for joining us. Monty Panesar, Atul Vasan, Sanjay Bhardwaj, Sunil Subramaniam, Niranjan Shah, Alan Sippy and Srivats Goswami, as well as my colleague Karishma Singh for joining us here in the studio on this edition of the National Debate.